1 second.
Just listen, we'll explain what's going to happen.
Where are you?
Am I here?
It's you?
Who's in charge of this thing? Who runs this thing? You're on.
Sugar is in
on?
charge.
Yeah, it's
Press
on.
left.
It's on.
Okay, so let's go. I'm going to do a little bit of Marizah. We'll cover the yard site. That's where I just from. Wow, what an experience. And then we're going to do Siyum HaRambam. Okay, we just finished Shlosh Prakim yesterday. Today we just restarted. Really fell right on time during the 9 days. We're going to do a Siyum on that and discuss a little Sikha of the Rebbe on the Rambam and also Behilchos Beis Abshir. It's 2 in 1 combined. And then we're going to finish our agenda that we're here tonight to finish the laws of the 9 days. Okay.
We don't need a car.
So let's go through a little bit of a Arizal biographical notes. The Arizal was born sometime in the 1530s, and he passed away in 1572. He was a total of 38 years old. He was a very young man when he passed away. 34. Yeah, I said the 30s. So is that wrong?
Don't start.
Yeah. So he has a very interesting life story. We're going to learn a little bit about him. But one of the things that I just picked up this year, I found fascinating, is the traditional story. Again, these are traditions. I don't know how well verified all these stories are, especially the details, but it's still a good story, and it is broad and smart. And the story is basically, how did the Arizal come to Kabbalah? We all think of the Arizal, wow, he was born already flying out of his mother's womb. He already had the Shemus HaKadoshim. He was already born a Kabbalist. No, he wasn't born a Kabbalist. He was born a normal human being, and he worked his way up the ladder. So how did he become a Kabbalist? How did that happen? So the way the story goes is like this. He was born, well, his birth was miraculous. He was a Yerushalmi resident. His father was Rabbi Shlomo Luria, a descendant of Rashi, and that's easy to remember because Rashi's name was Rabbi Shlomo ben Yitzchak, and his name was Rabbi Yitzchak ben Shlomo. Shlomo Yitzchaki, Shlomo the son of Yitzchak, that's Rashi. So the Arizal was the opposite. He was Rabbi Yitzchak ben Shlomo. His father was Shlomo, and he was a direct descendant of Rashi, who was, of course, as we know, a direct descendant of David HaMelech. So he had quite a strong lineage. He became a Yosem at age 8. His father passed away, and he had to move to his uncle's house. Now, who was his uncle? His mother was a Sephardi. His mother's brother was one of the governors or the Jewish governors or tax collectors of Egypt. He was a very, Francis. His name was Mordechai Francis. So he was a very powerful and extremely wealthy individual, a huge mansion of a house, and he had no problem bringing them in. And that's where he grew up and eventually married his first cousin. Eventually married the daughter of Mordechai Francis, and so his wife was for him as well. That was his first cousin. So the way the story goes like this, how he met Kabbalah, and I think it's an interesting lesson because we can learn from it how the Arizal actually became a Kabbalist through helping out a fellow Jew, literally like a shliach and a Chabadis. This is the story. He was davening. Until then he learned Nigla. He was a huge Baal Nigla. He was a tremendous Talmud Chacham. It says that Chaim Vital writes that for every pshat of Kabbalah that the Arizal could say, for every pshat of Kabbalah that the Arizal could say on a Talmudic statement, he can give another 7 ways of Nigla of the revealed Torah to explain. That's how great he was in Nigla. So he was a student of the Shita Mekubetzes of the Tzal Ashkenazi and the Radbaz of David ben Zimra, who they say is actually buried here. They discovered his grave recently. I don't know if that's accurate, but at least that's what they say. So those were his Nigla teachers, and he didn't know anything about Kabbalah until one day he was davening in shul with everybody else in the Egyptian synagogue. And this is close to home, by the way. My mother is Egyptian. She was born in Egypt. So yeah, we're also half sorry. In that respect, we're like the Arizal. Probably just in that respect. So the Arizal's in the shul, and he sees an individual in the back of the shul holding a siddur upside down, and he says, "This guy really doesn't know what he's doing. He must need help." So he sees he's not really saying the words. So he goes over to him. He sees a sidur's upside down. He's not diving. He says, "Listen, would you like it?" And he looks down. He sees the person not even holding a siddur. He was holding some really old manuscript, and he couldn't tell what it was. And so he goes ahead and he brings this person a sitter, and he shows him how to daven and what to say. And he's holding this old manuscript that the guy had in his hand. And he asks him, "What is this?" And he doesn't answer him. And the Arizal begins thinking, "I must be seeing hidden tzaddik," because he began reading through a little bit of the manuscript, and he saw these are the Kabbalah secrets. This is a book of Kabbalah that he's holding. So he thought that this person must be a hidden tzaddik, and I'm here trying to be makar of him with giving him a sitter. So after davening, he began speaking to him. He tried to get out some information from him. And the person was mamash, a real amaretz, a real amaretz. He was a hidden tzaddik. He was hidden from himself as well. He didn't know anything. And he told him, so the Rizal asked him, "What's your story?" And he says, "Listen, I'm a Marana. Spanish Inquisition was less than 50, 60 years earlier, in 1492. So I'm a Marano. I wasn't brought up in a Jewish home. I was brought up as a Christian, and I left Spain. I'm very wealthy, and I decided to come back to my Jewish roots, but I really don't know anything." So the Rizal asked him, "So what's this book? Where's this book from?" And he says that in my home in Spain, my ancestors left us these books as a heritage, libraries of manuscripts as a heritage, which we kept from generation to generation, and I kept it as well. And I took it out of Spain. I have no idea what it says, but every time I go to shul, I bring one with me to make believe I'm davening. So the Rizal asked him, "Do you mind if I have this book?" And he says, "Of course I mind, absolutely not." And he begins bargaining with him. "I'll pay you this amount of money. I'll pay you this." And he says, "Absolutely not. This is a family heritage." Until he offers him a huge sum of money, and the person says, "Listen, I don't need your money. I'm very wealthy, but I see you really want this book. I'll lend it to you for free. You can have it. You can use it." They say that Rizal took the sefer, he locked himself up in an attic and learned it for many years. Not long. Different stories say a different amount of years. Some say 20 years, some say 10 years, some say 3 years. But the point is that this was his first entrance into Kabbalah, and it all came through helping out another Jew in the back of a shul.
That book is the Zohar?
No, it wasn't the Zohar. We don't know. We don't know what book. No one knows what book it was.
The other manuscripts as well. They get them.
That's one story that's written. There could be other stories of other manuscripts, but that's one of the stories. Anyways, the Arizal then became a master of Kabbalah. He finally got to meet Eliyahu Hanavi, and Eliyahu Hanavi told him, "Listen, your life mission is pretty much up. You've done what you have to do in this world. But the real reason why you came down here is to have a student named Rabbi, and for him to take over your teachings and give it over to the world." And therefore he told him to move to Tzfas. He moved to Tzfas based on Eliyahu's Hanavi directive. Came to Tzfas in the year, it was what? Shin Lamed. It was the year Shin Lamed, that's 1570, and he lived there for 2 years. That's it. The whole story of the Arizal and Tzfas is a 2-year story. A 2-year story, and the story how we have. Right. So Shin Lamed Aleph. So maybe it was 2+ years. Maybe not exactly 3, maybe not exactly 2.
Just at the Levaya came out?
Say 2 years.
They're where he met the Rabbi.
What's written is that he came here 1770 and he passed away 1772. Now it could be he came in the beginning of 1770, passed away at the end of 1772, which would be 1572, which could be almost 3 years. But to us it makes no difference. We say 3 years, 2 years. What's enough to me?
Did he meet the Rabbi?
He was here.
Yeah,
say it was by the
was the
Rabbi.
head boy.
The Homage said that the person who you see, you will know my mamshech by the person who you see by my Levaya. What did he say? He said a message that whoever you see by my Levaya, he gave a message to the students how they'll know who his mamshech is. And the message that he gave fell on the Arizal. That's how we know it was the Arizal. Continue.
The pillar of fire story, or is it different?
There is also a pillar of fire story, but that was with a different student. The Arizal had, they say, also another machlekes between 2 to 3 children. He for sure had 2 daughters that we know for sure. One of them married, his younger daughter married the son of Yosef Karo, so they're Mechutanim, they became family. Rabbi Yehuda. And his older daughter married another Tzfas famous Mekubal, forgot his name. Alkabetz? I don't think so. I don't think it was Alkabetz. But some people say he had a son who passed away at a young age. In any event, he only had 2 living surviving children that survived him.
His wife?
His wife was from, we said before. How long did I don't know. I have no idea what happened with her. So now let's get, okay, so that's a little bit of history of the original. Let's get to some of his teachings. So today, since we're going to be doing very imminently a Siyum on the Rambam, we're going to introduce a little bit of Rambam-Arizal relations. That the relationship between Arizal and the Rambam.
I just have one question about this. How come you became so quickly accepted by all of Judaism? Like the Rambam had a ceremony and burned his books. Why? How come he was accepted in such a?
That's a very beautiful point, and I never contemplated that, but it's true. He's probably the most revolutionary thinker in Judaism that's uncontroversial.
Well, how come
People
everyone
don't
accepted
understand.
it?
Even his own uncle, put him
In 1770, when he really began spreading his teachings in 1770, 1570, when he really began spreading his teachings.
No, the whole
We don't
Ashkenazi
know.
world-
I'm not aware of controversy.
She's
How come
continuing.
they didn't accept it? Such a revolutionary ideas and so on.
We don't know. So come on.
This was all happening in this time. It wasn't like he went to Georgia.
No, Cairo gave his.
But don't forget, all the Gedolei Yisrael, sure, all the Gedolei Yisrael were here in Sfas, and everyone holds by him. There's no one who doesn't hold the Arizal. Everyone holds the Arizal. Okay. Yeah, it is. It's a good point. So, the Rambam, as you mentioned, Rambam had some controversial ideas, and the Rambam and the Maharal had a bit of a philosophical debate, a very severe philosophical debate. Obviously, the Maharal lived many hundreds of years later than the Rambam, but in writing. The Maharal wrote of the Rambam that his teachings, that some of his teachings sound heretical, and it's forbidden to say such things. So many people said that about the Rambam. What in specific was the Maharal referring to, and how did the Arizal come to the rescue? So this is in Perek Beis in Tanya, chapter 2 in Tanya. It explains that the Rambam, he writes in his Sefer Ayad, we're going to be learning it very soon, and now that we restarted the 3 Prakim, that he calls God, Hu Amadahu Yodeh V'Edo. When he wants to describe God, he describes God as a thinker, as an intellectual. And because that's the highest characteristic that we know in manhood, in humanity. It's intellect. So he called God by the highest character trait. The Maharal said, this is heresy. God is not made up, is not composed of any single characteristic. He created them all. How can you describe God as a characteristic when he created the characteristic? So it's similar to saying that God has a body. It's as if you're saying God has the most beautiful body of anybody. It means you're saying he's a human. So this was the attack of the Maharal to the Rambam. The Arizal, the Alter Barites, came and did a compromise and said the Maharal's right on one perspective and the Rambam's right on one perspective, and he came and made peace between them. He said that the Rambam he was referring to, and there's a whole debate if the Rambam learned Kabbalah or not. There's a big debate. But one thing is known is that at the end of his life, he did learn Kabbalah. What he did earlier is debatable. At the end of his life, he did learn Kabbalah from an elderly sage. And in any event, so the Rambam was referring to, says the Arizal, the level of Elikus that's invested in the world of Atzilus. Then in that world, you can describe godliness as having characteristics, the spheres, right? Who discussed the spheres, really described them and explained them? The Arizal. The Arizal says that based on Arizal's teachings, it's not that he came to make peace between them. His teachings made peace between them automatically. His Chedushim automatically made understood and clear that there is truth in the Maharal statement, that in God's essence he's not incorporated of any characteristics. And there is truth in the Rambam statement that in the world of Atzilus, which is the world that makes everything function and diffuses godliness everywhere, over there God invests himself in the spheres, and if you can describe him as being an intellectual. Interesting also that the Beis Yosef, in his commentary, Kesef Mishnah, and today we did the introduction. So the Beis Yosef in his introduction writes why he's writing his commentary. And one of his functions is to clarify the Rambam against his critics. The Rambam had a lot of critics, and he came to clarify and defend the Rambam. But in truth, when you go through the Beis Yosef's commentary on the Rambam, at the same time that he explains and defends the Rambam, he also defends the critics, and he explains how each one came to their opinion and their conclusion, and they're both two different perspectives. So it's a very interesting, peaceful way that also the Beis Yosef came along in the same generations that was to do this. Okay, we'll just conclude that the Arizal's effect in halacha, our shiurim are mainly halacha focused. The Arizal's infiltration into halacha is so vast and so great that it's almost impossible to go through a single halacha without having some aspect of Kabbalah or the Arizal infiltrated and affected. And for example, you have certain things. First of all, you have certain things based on Kabbalah that made it into the Shulchan Aruch itself. But mainly, the Beis Yosef wrote on Shulchan Aruch was before the Arizal's teachings were publicized. But the Magen Avraham and other commentators, they were big recruiters of Kabbalah, of the Arizal's statement, and especially the Chidah, and that's how all the Sfardim got along the board through the Chidah, and the Chidah would bring all the Arizal's different statements. The Ashkenazim came aboard the Arizal through the Magen Avraham, and that's how many of the Arizal's teachings are part of mainstream halacha today. I'll just give one random example. The Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Choshen Mishpat, the laws of paying a worker on time. So he discusses there that a person, an employer, has to pay his worker on time. If you have a babysitter, right now is babysitting, so you can come to this year. You come back home, you have to pay her before sunrise. You have to pay her whatever it is that she takes. That's a mitzvah deraisa. You have until sunrise.
Should we get after sunrise?
Then you have till sunset. Right? You have till the sun rises or until the sun sets. Now, if you don't have any money to pay, you're exempt. If you have nothing to pay, you don't have money, you don't have assets, you don't have anything. The Arizal says, and this is brought in the Shulchan Aruch, that even in such a case, even though you're not chayav to, you should go borrow money in order to pay your employee, in order to pay your worker. And this the Alter Rebbe brings down. He doesn't bring it down in the name of that Arizal. He doesn't say that Arizal, but he brings down this halacha, this time. And there's a lot of different halachas that are brought down in the Shulchan Aruch that are all based on the Arizal is the source of this rule. You know, I don't know. You have a set of Siyum called Shulchan Aruch HaRambam, which basically takes all. Yeah, it was written recently, not too long ago, and the author basically he compiled all of the directives, the practical halachic directives that comes out of the Arizal's teachings from all of his books. And you know, the main thing for us is to follow through with what he says, and you know, understanding the Kabbalistic, you know, intents and everything is another. There are a lot of books. There's about 20 volumes printed of the Arizal's teachings.
There's one on the
Bishara Kavanas that goes through the mitzvahs. Yeah, you have, but they're all over. They're in many different spots.
Okay. This is from Chaim Vital?
Everything's from Chaim Vital. We don't have any pure Arizal literature. Arizal did not write anything. He was a teacher, not a writer. He was not an author. He didn't authorize. He didn't author any books.
He authorized, but he didn't author.
We know he taught we know he didn't transcribe. We know he taught Chaim Vital for the sake of him teaching it to the world. Whether he told him to write it or not is a different story. But he definitely told him to, you know, he was definitely charged with that mission. Okay, let's get
That he
to.
was buried, he didn't want to, manuscripts, he didn't want to.
There was a story, yeah. There were manuscripts from Chaim Vital. Yeah, his manuscripts were buried with him in Damascus, and with Avram Azulai, together with, I believe, the Rameh, together they basically took care of it and printed it. Avram Azulai, Chesed Avram, who was one of the main publishers of Chaim Vital's teachings, and his son, Shmuel Vital. Okay, let's do the Siyum. So we're going to do, Rabbi Mazel, you want to read for us the last halacha? You read it last night. Okay, so you'll start it for us. I'll read the last halacha. I made sure to learn it not well, or in order so we can do a Siyum. Oh, I'm in Parak Effort here. It's getting confusing. Okay, here we go. All right. So, the last parak, as we know, the Rambam discusses the laws of Mashiach, of the Geula, and he begins to describe to us in the last two halachas the situation in the future. Let's get us thinking a little bit of what's awaiting for us in the future era. And he writes, this is in Parak Yud Beis, halacha Daled in Hilchos Malachim, in Sefer Shoftim Hilchos Malachim. L'nis'abu ha'chachamim v'anavim yemais ha'mashiach le'kadei she'yishtu al ka'elim le'kadei she'yirdu ba'akum le'kadei she'yinasu oisam ha'amim. These sages and prophets did not desire the times of the Mashiach in order so they can become rulers over the world. This wasn't a matter of ambition, of becoming king, of becoming the highest nation. Not in order to control the guy. Not in order so people take pride in the Jewish people, in order so people look up to the Jews. And not in order to eat and drink and make merry. Meaning that everything that Muhammad transcribed to Islam, the Rambam here is saying that's not Judaism. Right? That's what Muhammad describes. Saying this is, in Judaism, this is not why we look forward to the future era. But rather for us to be free to learn Torah and its wisdom. In essence, what we're doing right now. This is the whole purpose of why we should want Yemais HaMashiach. This is why they want the Yemais HaMashiach. There will be nobody who will press them and nullify them from their learning. And then the Rambam adds, for what reason and why did they desire Yemais HaMashiach to learn Torah? In order so they will merit the life of the world to come. The Rabbi explains here that even though the Rambam himself rules in Hilchos Tshuva that anyone who learns Torah for the sake of Eilam Haba is considered learning not Lishma. So how can he say that the Chachamim and Nevi'im, the whole purpose that they desire Yemais HaMashiach, or so they can learn Torah, you should just stop there, Rambam. That's it. So they can learn Torah. What does he add? So they can learn Torah and merit Eilam Haba. But you just said before in Hilchos Tshuva that someone who does that, it's not Lishma. So the answer is that it's only considered not Lishma, Lo Lishma, when a person's purpose of learning Torah is to focus on selfish reward, meaning he's thinking of, I'm going to get bowls of ice cream and many pleasures. It's personal physical reward. But someone who's focusing on the reward of Eilam Haba, of being Nenev Meziv Ashchina, that he merits to bask in the revelation of God. So that's Avos Hashem. What is the definition of love of God? That you're doing the mitzvah to attach to Him because you want to feel Him, you want to attach to Him, you want to have tzveikos. So that's why this is not considered Lishma. Their desire for Lamaba was not for the physical pleasures. Last halacha, and in that time, there will be no more hunger, no more wars, no more jealousy, and no more competition. No more competition. That's interesting. It says no more competition. I guess that includes everything. No more competition of businesses, of anything.
It's not competition.
As all the good will be spread all over the world. All the delicacies you'll be able to pick up with your hands, like dust. The entire dealings of the world will be to know God. And therefore, the Jewish people will be tremendously great sages. They will know the hidden secrets, referring to Kabbalah, and they will comprehend God. Nishnamu hilchas malach v'kulei b'chsham v'aylam b'kate b'cholei tam v'nish zevach lakil v'aylam nigmar sefer arbas abu sefer shoftim minyan trakav echad u'shmeinim hilchas Sanhedrin shishlas and prakim hilchas eislam v'esam prakim hilchas mamish prakim hilchas sefer arbas prakim hilchas nachmu chamaseim shneas prakim. Okay, so this is the Siyum, and we want to do the start. We don't want to end with an ending. We want to end with the beginning. Yeah, we started today. Today we just started. Homage, you want to do a little bit in the beginning?
What's the Shabbos piece of the Rabbi that show that the Shabbos where it explains all this. He says, "Man, you won't read all this. It explains the Rab and the Homage, Rab, very Rab, and so on. So that's in my mind. It's Mishloy Bar Hashem. But we are all hungry and thirsty for spirituality, and the Melchamos will be Melchamos Shatayah.
Oh.
That's the explained. The Kino will be Kino Sof and Tarachach. Chachmas will be the only inclusion. And usually, when they decide the HaRambam, they start from a few days ahead because all the Roman or that is very rich. It's not my friends. One is just this is by Roman. Going from the mitzvah from the office itself. Few days, I think the end of the week starts when we actually the office itself. And Shabbos actually learn beginning.
All right, any beginning's good.
What?
Any beginning's good.
Okay, so look at the say that very often the phone S mitzvahs, shesh mitzvahs, the say about the verses in the photo data sheyesh mekah, veis sheyam shol sheyesh mekah acher, zelos Hashem, gimur yachtoi, v'tal v'yaboy, hey le'yiro mimenu, v'ov l'kadesh moy, zayin shaloi l'chal shmoy, ches shel le'abed vom shenikash me'arem, ches l'shmoy menanovi amedaboy v'shmoy, yud shaloi l'nasese, v'yom zikom l'zisele, v'chot umet. Perikishn Aleph. Yesoid HaYesoides, Amud HaChochmas, the foundation of all the foundations, and the pillar of all knowledges, Leida Sheyesh Shom Motzi Rishoin, that you have to believe and know. Leida, it's not only believe, but to know, actually comprehend and know, Sheyesh Shom Motzi Rishoin, there is a Motzi, a being, a first being, who Mamtzi Kol Nimtza, that from him everything comes out, all the creations and all the Mitzias, the existence, all existence come out from him. He is an existence that brings out existence. Everything existing from Shamayim, heavens and earth, and everything between. Is only an outcome. It's a Mitzias, existing from the fact that there is the true being. The fact that Hashem is him is an outcome of him creation for everything. Sorry?
So we'll just, no, we don't have to say Kaddish, but we got our Siyum in, and we have an added simcha, and now we can have the beef and the steaks.
Wine.
But only if it happened to be on this particular time.
Right, it has to happen. Nobody planned it.
It makes that call to heaven.
Yes.
Again, we'll mention whoever hasn't yet started the cycle. So it's a good opportunity. Today's the new day. We're starting the new cycle today. It's the 38th, I think. Lamed Ches. 38th cycle that we're on. The age of the Arizal.
And it happened on his birthday, and it happens on his yard side.
On his yard site.
That's something, yeah.
So when you So we're just going to give a little. Right, the yearly cycle of 3. We're starting now the 38th cycle. And we're also starting Sefer HaMitzvahs again from the beginning. I'll explain that in a moment. But just again to remember, one of the things the Rebbe explained of the why he chose the specifically the learning cycle of Rambam is because the Rambam encompasses the entire Kol HaTorah Kula, and there's no other book that does so. And it's written, and this connects to the Arizal, the Kabbalah. The Alter Rebbe brings in Hilchos Talmud Torah, based on the Mekubalim, which is the Arizal, that the Arizal says that every single Jew must come down, every single Jew's neshama, in order for it to be complete, to be able to make it to Gan Eden and Gan Abba, needs to be in this world for enough time to learn and fulfill all the 613 commands, but Machshava, Dibur, U'Maisa. So that means is that a Jew who never learned Rambam, and he's, he learned the whole Rambam except for one parak. He still has to come down to finish that parak. So this is one of the miles of learning. Even if he's a baki in Shulchan Aruch and he's a baki b'Shas, because not always if you're baki in Shas are you able to take out, like the Rambam writes in Akdama, why he wrote his chipper. Why did he write his chipper? He wrote it because even in his time, people couldn't fathom the whole Torah and know what to do, know the halachas just from learning Shas. All the more so 1,000 years later, all the more so 800 years later, they can't do it. On that point, I'll mention the Kesef Mishnah says something very funny in the introduction. So when he's writing about the defense of the Rambam versus the Ravid said that this author, the Rambam, made a big mistake. He thought he was fixing something by writing his book, and in the end, he just made more problems. The Rambam said, I'm writing my book because no one can learn the Talmud. It's a different language, it's very complex, and you can't figure anything out from it. So the Ravid says, well, what did you fix by writing a book without any sources, without any citations, without anything that tells you where it's being learned from? So exactly, you can understand it either. So that's the Ravid's claim against the Rambam. So what are you gaining by writing your book? So the Kesef Mishnah writes very simply. He says like this: listen, the Rambam didn't write his book for people like the Ravid. So he says, the Rambam didn't write a book for everyone. The Rambam wrote the book for most people in his generation and after him, that this is what they'll understand. This is they'll understand Mishnah Torah. They can't swim in the Talmud to begin looking up sources. It's totally beyond them. So they trust the Rambam. The Rambam's their rabbi. This is what they found. Then he writes. So it ends up that the Rambam is a book that works for everyone in the world except for one person, and that's the Ravid. In other words, for the Ravid, he didn't write his sources, so therefore for the Ravid it's a problem. But for the rest of the generation, it works. Anyways, that was his defense. So this is the Arizal teaches us that a Jew has to learn all Taryag mitzvahs b'machshava and the deeper. So when you learn Rambam, that's machshava. If you pay attention to what you're learning, so at least b'dibur. But you can start off b'dibur, which is to reading it, okay, and then you get to machshava, which is thinking and understanding it. A lot of such.
Isn't in a foreign language?
Yeah, the main thing of Rambam is the
even if we read it in a foreign language.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so again, the Rebbe gave us 3 cycles. One of them is the 3 chapters, the second is the 1 chapter, and the third is Sefer HaMitzvos, which is basically, it breaks down the 3 chapter per day into mitzvahs. So they're actually probably not going to start, I think the way it works is that they repeat the same mitzvah until I've never done same mitzvah, the cycle, but I think they repeat it various times until they get to it. So basically, you can at the very least join that cycle, and you'll be part of the.
In 1 year, you do the whole cycle?
Yeah, Sefer Mitzvahs finishes in 1 year.
Spend your whole day around it, basically, if you do 3.
If you're doing 3 prakim, yeah, it depends. I mean, it depends.
Like me, I tried it once.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Okay, we're going to do right now. So we're going to discuss a little shtickle Rambam on Hilchas Beis Abchira. And also discuss one of Rebbe's talks on this matter. In chapter 4, Hilchos Beis Abchira, Halacha Aleph, the Rambam writes the following in his description of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies. He says, "Evan Haisav HaKodesh HaKadoshim Ma'arav." There was a stone in the Holy of Holies in the western area, which is the back, right? The rest was the back of the temple. So meaning towards the back of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there was a stone. V'aleha haya ha'aron. On this stone stood the aron. Munach v'lefanav tzanzenes haman. The jar of the man that was saved since the times of Moshe was there. Umata Aaron, and the famous staff of Aaron HaKohen that was right in the story with Pinchas, with Kairach. Not Pinchas, with Kairach. So that staff that grew almonds was there. Ube'es shebana shleimis abayis. Now, when Shlomo HaMelech built the first temple, the Yadash Asafil, he knew, he had a vision that in the end the temple would be destroyed. Bana Makim Lignois by Haaron, together with the architecture, with the construction of the temple, he built an underground area to hide the Aron Lamata under the temple. The matmunios amukes in deep hidden tunnels, vakloklios, which is one of these words mean deep. The second akloklios means like a maze. Yeshayahu Hamelech, Tziva, now Yishayahu Melech, which was his descendant, Tziva commanded many years later, for it to be buried there, and that's where it was hidden. It was hidden in this hidden cave under the temple. Shenamar, Vayemel Avim Avinu V'chol Yisrael B'deshin Hashem Tuva Za'orim B'Bayis Hashabana Shlomo Ben David Ben Chisol Ein Lecha Masa B'Kosav Ativ D'Shem L'Kef. Okay. Benignas Imai together with the Aaron was also hidden, the staff of Aaron. That's why you go look by the Temple Mount, you won't see it. Tzensenes, and also the, as we said, the jar of the man, the Shemen HaMishcha, and also the anointing oil. V'chol, I said before that Tzensenes is going in the man. Tzensenes Haman. V'chol heyu leichazu b'aysheni. All these things were lacking in the second temple. V'afar mitum mishar b'aysheni le'im mishivim v'chkedesh. Even though Urim Turim was missing. Now, there's a very important question here on this Rambam, and that is, I understand why the Rambam has to discuss with us the items that were found in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. What is meant to be in the Kodesh HaKadoshim is that we have to know. That's part of Binyan Beis HaBchira. But what's the chashivas? What's the importance of him bringing this midrashic story, mamash, a story? Like where do you ever read this? That Shlomo Melech built a hidden cave under the temple and he hid the. What on earth does this information have to do with a book of halachas? If the Rambam brought midrashim and stories and all of his halachas, we'd have a book that would be this big. So he didn't. He would not bring stories, and he didn't bring midrashim. So why was this brought down? Especially that in the sources, this is under a big machlekes. There's a big machlekes what happened to the Aaron. This is only one position. This is only one opinion. Other opinions, the Gemara in Yuma says, Shimon Bar Yochai says that the Aaron was taken to Bavel. It's in Bavel, it's in Galus Bavel. Others say that it was, basically there's different opinions of what happened.
There were a couple of Aarons, maybe one went to war and one to
No, he was, the Rashbi in the Gemara was referring to the Aaron of Bris. He wasn't referring to any of them. He was referring to the main Aaron of Bris. So what is the necessity of the Rambam here being machriya, arbitrating on a story that has no relevance to life? That's really our main question. Just an interesting fact about the Aaron is that it's brought down in Sfarim that the Aaron weighed, anyone know how much it weighed? 8,500 kilo. That's what brought them to a
big truck.
Now, even though the Gemara in Saita doesn't say that that's the amount, but it does say that it weighs so much that no human can physically lift it. It makes no sense how it weighs so much because
they're supposed to carry on your shoulder.
Yeah, so it says Ha'aron was Manasseh Ha'maisim. It carried those who carried it.
And it took no space.
It carried those who carried it. Yeah.
But didn't it?
Also, read a little
How many? 8,000? How many?
8,500 kilo. 500 kilo.
But it's beyond dimension.
Yeah. Anyways, that's what's brought down in the Sefer HaParshas. Okay, in any event, so let's get back to our question. Our question is that what is the purpose of the Rambam mentioning this information? And the Rebbe explained the following, very interesting, but such a fundamental chiddush in clarifying this matter. And that is as follows, that the Rambam's purpose in mentioning this was not for the sake of throwing in a cool medrash or a cool, motivation to get into excavations and start looking and searching for the temple. Rather, the Rambam was mentioning this because this is nageh the halacha. This is relevant to the halacha of his Beis HaBchira. And that is as follows. The question stands as to what in essence is the temple. The temple is a building made up of many parts. But what is the heart of the temple? Like if we have a human being without a brain, then he's not alive. If you have a human being without a heart, he's not alive. If you have a human being without a finger, he's still alive. So the question is, what aspects, what parts of the temple are essential parts? And what parts are not essential parts? What if it's missing is considered that the whole temple is missing? It's as if there's no temple. It's like a body without a soul. And in which case it is considered that it is a temple, even though the temple is not complete. So that's question number one. Question number two, since there are things that were missing in the second temple, we have to look into determining, was the second temple really a temple at all? Or was it like a body without a non-living body, missing an essential organ? So the Rambam holds us that the main purpose, the Rambam holds us that one of the main aspects of the temple is the Aron. That's where the Shekhinah dwelt. Even though this is mainly the position of the Ramban, the Rebbe explains in length how they're not really arguing on this aspect. Everyone agrees that one of the main aspects of the Beis HaMikdash is the Shechina. And the Shechina dwells bein badei Aron, between the poles of the Aron. So therefore, you can ask a very simple question. If we don't have an Aron, then the second temple wasn't a second temple. In essence, we don't have ability to make a temple. You can't begin making a temple. You can't begin Beis HaTchira building until you have the Aron available. So this is why the Rambam had to clarify this and say, in essence, the Aron b'mkeima omedes. The Aron remains till this very day in the spot of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The Aron, when we say it was missing from the second temple, it was only missing from the upstairs Kodesh HaKadoshim. But downstairs, Shlomo HaMelech built the downstairs Kodesh HaKadoshim. He didn't just build a hiding place. That's not the pshat. He built another Kodesh HaKadoshim downstairs, directly under. So the Aron HaBris is right now in that spot and was never destroyed from the Kodesh HaKadoshim, was never removed from the Kodesh HaKadoshim. It remains till this very day there. Which ends up, first, number one, that's an amazing realization that the Aron HaBris was never, it's still remaining in its place of Kedusha. Number two, that the second temple was never missing the Aron, it was just lacking its revelation in the upstairs Kodesh HaKadoshim. And this is the purpose for why the Rambam had to bring this halacha. It wasn't to teach us a story, but to explain to us how we do not lack the Aron even today. When Rabbi Yehuda Gatz, they're upstairs.
I mean, in the upper level, they had a replica of the...
In the second temple, they didn't have any. No. They just had to
the
stop.
story when they came in and saw the Kerubim hugging each other.
In first temple.
Pompey was in
The Gemara mentions that they came in and saw the Kerubim referring to Bayis Rishon. The Gemara Newman.
by Sushi.
Bayis Rishon.
But there's no idea that they had a replica in the second, on the top?
No, it says it was missing. There was no Aron. There was no Aron. Okay. Okay, so you did it without, yeah. Okay, so there was just a sequel on that. Throughout the ages, there were many individuals who did excavations there to try to find the lost. One of them was the chief rabbi of Mekaymis Hakadoshim and Mekosim. His name was Rabbi Meir Gatz, or Gates, Rabbi Meir Gates. Gatz. He was a Tunisian Jew, fought in the 6-Day War, lost his son, and he became, he was appointed the chief rabbi of the holy places. Today, Rabbi Rabinowitz holds that position. And he was secretly doing digging by the Temple Mount. His whole life, he wanted to find the Aron. He wanted to find this spot. And the Rebbe warned him. The Rebbe told him to stop. The Rebbe was very against it. We have the letters. The Rebbe told him to stop, not to do it. And basically, all the daily Yisrael opposed it. Opposed what he was doing. In the end, what happened was that this was in the 80s, in the early 80s, he was digging, all secretly, and he got permission from, that time it was who? Who was the prime minister then? Begin, Menachem Begin. So he got permission from Begin to do it, but his son tells over the story. His son says, I heard it from his son, said that the deal that his father got to be able to do the digging is that he has permission, but he doesn't have permission, meaning he has permission, so yeah, go ahead and do it, but if it ever becomes public, we never gave you permission, you went behind our back and did this. That's going to be the official stance. And that's exactly what happened. What happened was that there was a fire that broke out in their excavations, and they had to call fire department, and the fire department in the old city sent an Arab. And when the Arab saw what was going on, he told all of his friends, and that's how it came out. The next day, the whole thing was closed up. They never went back there again. So that's the end of the story. And they never did. Well, listen, it was meant to be that they shouldn't.
Right, that's it.
The Rabbi writes in a tshuva. The Rabbi writes like this. In his time, again, the Rabbi was the teacher of Arizal. Rabbi writes that there were people already for many hundreds of years that have been trying to dig under and find the Aron, and they've all never come back alive. That's what he writes. Many kings have put down people, servants of theirs, to come look, and not one has come back alive. No one knows what happened to them, but not one ever returned. And after they just kept losing men, they decided to just close it up and never to enter it again.
I heard that's what they tell about the Maral Machalo.
Yeah, they could tell that this is a tshuva of the Rabbi. This is written black and white. Okay, let's go. We're going to do now, we're going to finish the laws of Tisha B'Av. We started on Sunday.
Sunday morning.
Sunday, this past Sunday. This is, by the way, our last class, okay? It's our last class until the Mertz Hashem Rosh Chodesh Elul.
Ben Azman.
Ben Azman.
But will you consider, maybe you were planning on anyway, just the transition with the shoes at the end of Shabbos, the shoe changeover?
We did that. You want to do it
Yeah,
again?
it's a little review. It's I had to walk out for instance. I had to walk out.
This Motzei Shabbos, again, we said we have a break. What time is Ma'ariv here?
8:05. Around 8:05.
8:05. This Motzei Shabbos? Too early.
It's coming. So that's what was 8:16.
About 7 o'clock candlelighting. 7 o'clock.
So 8:10.
Whatever it is, based the way it works like this: you daven an early mincha. We're at home for Shalosh Chodesh to the Sum of Sekes. After Tzeisek Echavim, you say Baruch HaMavdim HaKodesh L'Chel, and then you go to shul, and then you take off your shoes.
You stay at home until you take your shoes on.
That's what's done in most shuls.
You put your Tisha B'Av shoes on. Your
It's
temple.
Ma'ariv a little bit later. It's not Ma'ariv a little bit later.
So it'll be time. The shuls will give time to end and then come with your shoes.
I mentioned that everyone remember what the story was said with the Rabbi on
Yeah, I
Sunday?
walked out for a phone call. That was my problem. But
Again, I didn't hear it.
The kids are, you go home, Shalosh Chodesh, after mincha,
What
So
time is the
Sum of Sekes?
latest?
till Shkia, till sunset. You eat till sunset. As soon as it says Echavim, Tzeisek Echavim is probably going to be, I don't know, 8:05 or something like that, 8:10, 8:05. Whenever it says in law, Tzeisek Echavim, you say Baruch HaMavdim HaKodesh L'Chel, you take off your shoes and you put on your Tisha B'Av stuff.
you go to Mari after.
Yeah.
You don't light a candle.
That's not.
We discussed, that was all in Sunday's class. We said that we have to light a candle before Eicha, after Ma'ariv, after Kaddish Tiskabel. The Gabbai and the shul should have candles for people to say Ma'ariv Ha'esh with. That's the minhag, that's what's
There
supposed
you
to be
say it
done.
in the shul.
And your
Men say it in the shul,
What do the
yes.
women do?
They can say it at home,
on their own.
before they go to Ma'ariv. If they don't go to Ma'ariv, they say it at home.
On one candle.
On each.
Why one candle too?
Each.
Like you always do.
Oh, I don't.
Each
Not
on.
done.
Each. done.
Just Ma'ariv Ha'esh, yes.
Why can't you do it before you go to shul?
Because the minhag is to do it before Eicha. That's the minhag brought down in the Rishonim, that's the minhag brought down in the Shulchan Aruch. So why change it?
Usually they have Ma'ariv.
After Ma'ariv.
One of the reasons is because you're not supposed to be makdim Havdalah tonight. That's one reason.
That's what?
Not supposed to preface Havdalah to Ma'ariv. You're supposed to say Ma'ariv first. So since Ma'ariv H is part of Ma'ariv, whatever the case is, it's, something that's written down in all the sources to come along and change it, even if you don't have a reason. It's
What about the Samim? I guess it's.
no b'samim. No b'samim.
So the time when the shoes have to come off, the Shabbos shoes come off, leather comes off. Is,
When you see it, say Sekichav. When you see Shabbos over, say Baruch HaMavdim HaKodesh L'Chel. Take off your shoes. That's it.
yeah, my memory.
I'll tell you the truth. It could be your shoes are going to be off anyways. If you don't like walking around at home with your shoes and you like wearing your slippers, so as soon as you come home from mincha, your shoes are going to be off.
Yeah.
So what do you have to wear?
I have leather slippers.
Oh, you have leather slippers.
Lighted Baruch, I've seen something of that.
Yes, correct. This is what I said in the shir. That back in the day, the Ramaz time, the way it worked is that there was no break.
Yeah.
People stayed in shul for mincha. I don't know what they did with Suda Sum of Sekes. Whatever they did, they did. They ate before mincha. I don't know what they did. And they stayed in shul the whole time. And as soon as they said Baruch Hu for Ma'ariv, everyone took off their shoes.
In Homage, we used to take the shoes on Friday to bring them in shul.
They didn't make a break.
Now, some people stay, they just
Which shul
change
in
their
Crown
shoes.
Heights? Which shul?
Franklin shul.
Franklin. So that's what we said on Sunday. We said that the Rebbe said that's the way it was always done. The Rebbe was very upset when they announced that it was going to be a break in 770.
So, but we do take a break now, not.
That's what all the shuls that I've seen do. Even 770 does it. 770 didn't change the schedule. The Rebbe protested, but 770 remained what it remained. Until today. Until today, that's the schedule. They take a break, they come back. Okay. What did we end off with on Sunday night? Who remembers? We were up to the Siyum. We discussed the Siyum. I know we finished everything that has to do with the fast day itself, the fasting.
We did talk about Hadal, and that's not the Siyum. No, not the Siyum. We skipped the Siyum. Totally.
So I think that's where we're up to. Okay, so let's go through this. Let's go through whatever time we have left. Okay. You let us smell spices on Tisha B'Av. You have people on Yom Kippur that are accustomed to give out all of these, smelling salts, all of these snuff, or the essential oils, and all these things. They create shilas and brachos, shilas and leilad reyach, all on Yom Kippur. It's a big problem. In any event, the question is on Tisha B'Av. You let us smell spices on Tisha B'Av. So the Taz says absolutely not. It's forbidden. Why do you think we don't say B'Samim and Havdalah?
Why? Because it's
It's not a
enjoyable.
question, it's an answer, because it's enjoyable, so you can't do it. So how you can tell me that you can smell, but for Havdalah we don't do because you can't smell? It's a contradiction. Now, other places can argue and say, no, it's only for the mitzvah that you don't do it, but you could do it for stam pleasure. There's no isser. Bottom line, there is no arbitration on this machlekes. Some are machmer, some are lenient, but this is under debate. There is no Alter Rebbe on this. There's no Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Tisha B'Av. There's no Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Tisha B'Av. I do remind everybody, though, that a lot of the scents that they give out today, they don't even deserve a bracha because they are artificial. No, it's just true. They're artificial. You have to have, it has to be 100%. Or not even 100%, but it has to contain real scent for it to require a bracha.
Chemical?
A lot of them is chemical based, yeah. Regular snuff is chemical based. Yeah, the real snuff of back in the day was made from, what's it called? No. From the musk deer. Musk. It was made from musk. And you know how expensive musk is? Musk goes for now, I recently checked, like within a year. It sells in Asia, which is where it's made, in the North China area, that whole area. It sells for like $21,000 for 100 grams. So it's extremely expensive stuff. So, you're not getting real stuff for your 10 shekel. You're not getting real snuff. It's from the blood. It's from the blood of the musk deer.
So,
Tobacco. He says you can say a bracha of someone tobacco. Tobacco's a good smell. I hate tobacco.
no, not tobacco, but powder. It's not.
Okay, let's move on. That's in Hilchos B'Samim, Hilchos Birchas Hanen. Now this enters us into a problem. What do we do with 100 blessings? We're missing a lot of blessings because we're not eating food. There's really not missing that much because at least we're getting all Shemoneh Esrei. It's not like Yom Kippur that we don't have the 18, 19 blessings of Shemoneh Esrei. Bottom line is that we are missing about 20 brachas, and you can make that up simply by listening in to the aliyahs to the Torah, about both Shachris and Mincha, and the Haftarah. So you're going to get in about 20 blessings by doing so, if all that together. And then you get your 100 brachas. What that means, no, not by saying Amen. Al-Tabra writes, in order to fulfill your Meir brachas, you have to hear every single word. So the person saying the Haftarah should say it properly, as he's supposed to out loud, say the brachas out loud, and you should listen to the brachas word for word. And that's how you're Yaitse. Also, the Birchas HaTorah, when he goes from the Aliyah, you say the brachas out loud. If someone doesn't hear all the words, the Altabra rules, he's not Yaitse Me'er brachas. It doesn't count for his Me'er brachas. You have to hear the whole thing. You have to know. You have to know. You have to know.
You have to go closer.
Or you move close. It's another option. Okay. Leather shoes, right? It's quite simple. No leather shoes. That's it. We don't wear leather shoes throughout the day. Now, can you wear shoes not made of leather? Now, some of you may think, of course you can, but this is actually under debate. Some places can rule is that the point of not wearing leather shoes is not just because it's leather, it's because it's comfortable. So if you're going to find a way out and get comfortable shoes, sometimes they're even more comfortable than leather shoes. So what are you doing? So you're just trying to circumvent the technical law, but transgressing the spirit. And therefore they say that even that even non-leather comfortable shoes are forbidden to be worn. So those the Panim Me'iris and other places. Bottom line, one second, let me just give the final ruling. Let's not get so caught up in this opinion. Bottom line is that we do not rule like this opinion, and we rule that it is mutter, and this is also the Chabad custom, that it is mutter to wear leather shoes. Non-leather shoes you can wear. The Rebbe would wear these non-leather shoes that look comfortable. I don't know if they were. They were?
They're not comfortable, man.
Okay. So, yeah, it sounds to say from Hagam, we're not maching like this opinion, but just know some people are, and that's why till today you can see in some areas people walking around without any shoes at all, just socks. Because they're very machmir, and they don't want to wear anything on their feet.
It's comfortable.
If you own a leather couch, anyone here have a leather couch?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. You let us sit on it or sleep on it on Tisha B'Av.
Yes. Like put a
What was the height?
Without wearing things.
What about the height?
The height. To sleep,
Sit.
it doesn't,
No,
there's
no,
no
to
limitation.
sit on it.
All right, to
Sitting.
sit, yeah, after
Sleep,
Chatzos,
right?
after Chatzos. After
After
Chatzos.
So you can't sleep on a leather couch?
Yeah.
Bottom line is that it's
Yeah.
mutter, but one who is stringent is blessed. And that's why I did not buy a leather couch.
You must be blessed.
You save
I
money.
am blessed because I saved about
Save money.
$2,000. I was mamish worked. You saw how it worked. It's
It's not
blessed.
artificial.
It's not leather artificial.
Guys,
Okay. There's all these exceptions brought in Shulchan Aruch regarding those people who are exempt and they are allowed to wear leather shoes. Practically, all these exemptions no longer really apply today because it was only back in the day when people needed leather shoes for keep them warm. But today you have very good shoes that are not made of leather and therefore they're no longer applicable. So let's go straight to bathing, okay? The Isser of bathing on Tisha B'Av is only for the sake of pleasure. Therefore, that means that non-pleasure bathing is permitted. So, for example, if you got your hands dirty with something, if you fell on the floor and your hands got full of mud, you're allowed to wash them on Tisha B'Av. Or if any other dirt got on your hands or any other part of your body, you're allowed to wash them. This doesn't mean if you got a piece of mud on your palm, then you're allowed to take a shower. That means that you're allowed to wash your palm from the dirt. Right, so whatever is necessary, whatever you. Well, soap is an issue of anointing, but anointing too is only also for pleasure purposes. So if you're using the soap in order to get rid of the dirt, then it's mutter. Okay, but otherwise you cannot do so because of the anointing prohibition. Medical purposes is mutter. So for example, a woman in her 9th month, I was asked this a few days ago, and she really needs to soak in hot baths every day. Because she has tremendous pain from the pregnancy, and the answer is yes, she may. Even on Tisha B'Av, she's allowed to soak in a hot bath because she's not doing it for pleasure; she's doing it to prevent pain. So it's mutter for health reasons for one to do so. Even though from the letter of the law, someone who feels very sweaty and thereby feels dirty due to the sweat, can technically fall under this argument and say, well, I'm doing it for cleanliness purposes, I can take a shower. Practically, we are not accustomed to do so, and therefore try not to sweat a lot if you have an air conditioner on blasting and do whatever you need to do to work this out. But I do know of some people that they sweat so bad in the summer especially, and they partially cannot sleep at night. And when I was doing Shimush, I remember we gave Heterim to them to take showers on Tisha B'Av. I mean, not
cold shower?
Whatever. No, just tell them, get rid of the sweat. Whatever you need so you can sleep, get rid of the sweat. Yeah, it's mutter. I mean, it's mutter, but again, we're not noihig that way, and we do not take showers, even if it's tough.
Well, you say soap is allowed to wash up, and you need the soap to wash out the sweat.
Dirt, to get rid of dirt.
Even if the soap is fine for that.
Technically, I feel, again, that I don't remember if we said you can use soap, but I don't know if we would go that far. But definitely the Isser is only for pleasure purposes. The question is, where do you define pleasure purposes? The Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Yom Kippur writes that sweat is not considered pleasure. He writes that sweat is considered non-pleasure purposes. To clean yourself, to get rid of sweat, is not considered a pleasure purpose. That's the Alter Rebbe writes. In any event, okay, let's move on. After the bathroom, what do you do? When you wash yourself, the answer is no. You cannot wash your hands after using the bathroom. Tisha B'Av, 1 second, unless A, you're before a prayer, you're before Ma'ariv, let's say you went to the bathroom before Ma'ariv, Motzei Shabbos. You can wash your hands till here. Okay, you
What
can
the
do
bracha?
3
You say the
times.
bracha.
Yeah, bracha, 3. Bracha 1.
Sheyotza.
Yeah, sheyotza, of course.
Because you don't
That
wash
has
your
nothing to
hands
do with the
before saying the
washing.
bracha?
Oh, 1 second. You wash your hands till here 3 times, okay, just like you regularly do. It's not a problem. So to Shachris, Mincha, whenever you're before prayer. If you're not before prayer, then you cannot wash your hands unless it got dirty. So if your hands got dirty, unless your hands got dirty, the Alter Rebbe writes in the Shulchan Aruch that it is proper to get the hands dirty in order so you can wash them. Don't make me get graphic in what dirty means, but dirty means dirty. Yeah, Negovasser or whatever you need to do to get it washed.
So it's good, you can get them.
He says you should. You should get them dirty in order so you could wash. That was like this. Halacha says you're ideally supposed to wash before you say Ashayat. But you can't wash on Tisha B'Av. So the only way you're going to be allowed to wash is if you get your hands dirty in the process. So therefore, it's better to get your hands dirty in the process. Be allowed to wash because your hands are dirty, and then you profit.
You touch your body or whatever.
Even in that case, if you scratch yourself, only if you're before davening, you can wash. Not before davening, you rub on something, and then you say Ashayat.
So if you don't get dirty, therefore you can't wash, you can't say Ashayat.
No, you
say-
could. You always say
you
Ashayat,
say.
but you have to clean your hands first, like this. Wipe it on something. Go over to your favorite kid. Go like this to his back. So it's a Tisha B'Av ritual. Of what? Yeah, after the bathroom. Why not? Sure. You went to the bathroom, say Baruch Hashem, absolutely. But you have to clean your hands first, either through washing if you got them dirty, or before davening, or through, as we said before, or rub them on something. Okay. No rinsing out the mouth, of course. That's doubly usher. It's usher on every fast day, or more so this fast day. We have a bathing prohibition, so that's for sure. The anointing. What's considered under anointing that's prohibited? So back in the day, they were big into the rolling in oil. They used to roll in oil all the time. Yeah, they would put oil on like a leather sheet on the floor, and they would basically get an underwear and just roll on it. Roll in the oil.
It's good for the skin.
This was, I don't know, this was done back in the day. Today we don't do this anymore. So what is it referring to today practically? Today it's referring to the following. You can't put lotions on your body. You can't put soap, perfumes, cosmetics. Deodorant is mutter because it's Tisha B'Av, because it's for the sake of removing sweat. It's not for the sake of, it's for the sake of harness. Why? It's according to Mishnah Berurah, it's mutter. The Mishnah Berurah rules that it's mutter, the kitzah. So Machlekes, Mishnah Berurah rules that it's mutter to put deodorant on. Everyone agrees for medical purposes it's mutter, so therefore if you need to put a medicinal cream on your body on Tisha B'Av, it's okay. You don't have to suffer. You're allowed to do so. Likewise, chapstick. If you have really you haven't drank the whole day, your lips are killing you, you can put chapstick on because it's for medicinal purposes. So even though technically you're anointing, but anointing was only prohibited for purposes of pleasure. Intimacy, marital relations is forbidden on Tisha B'Av for all Jews, Sephardim, and Ashkenazim. Unlike this coming Shabbos, where we said only for Ashkenazim there's a restriction. This applies in absolutely all cases, and due to this, certain distances between husband and wife must be kept throughout Tisha B'Av. What are those distances? At the very least, the beds should be separated, not to sleep in the same bed, and not to have affectionate touch between the couple. Some go as far and actually keep all the laws of Archakas, just as when a wife is a nida. Minadin, you do not have to do so, and all the limitations are just separating the beds and not to engage in affectionate touch during Tisha B'Av. Everybody.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Ashkenazi
Shabbos, we said
also.
on Sunday Shir, is only Ashkenazi.
This Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos. In this case, they don't have to. Shabbos.
Yeah. They just gave actually 50% off for conversions now. So Sfardim are doing a great big deal before Tisha B'Av. Learning Torah on Tisha B'Av. So it is, as we know, it's forbidden to learn Torah on Tisha B'Av. We discussed in Sunday's class that these restrictions begin already due to minhag, already from Chatzais of Shabbos. And therefore, you're only allowed to learn those things that are permitted to be learned on Tisha B'Av, starting from Chatzais on Shabbos. And what are those things? So it doesn't mean that a person is not allowed to learn Torah. It just means he has to learn Torah of those areas that the sage is allowed. He's not allowed to learn other areas of Torah. What practically is allowed to be learned? So you have a lot of different things. First, you have my whole book that you can learn. We have still a few copies left, so you can buy them. Okay? You can learn this whole book. Believe me, you're not going to be happy with what you're reading, so it's okay. We also have the Gemara in Gittin, which is actually in the book here. We have the section here of Hanizak, and it's translated into English. So that's another thing that you can learn. It goes through the story. You can always pick up a Josephus. That's another book listed in the Paiskin to learn Josephus. Basically anything, I don't know how much that's considered Torah learning, especially that, as I heard from my history teacher in college, that Josephus, from his perspective, got an F for his work because he did complete plagiarism in what he wrote. So, but whatever it is that's brought down in Paiskin, that is another thing you can learn. Yeah, it's another thing you learn. There's the Alter writes in Shulchan that there's Musar Haskell that can be learned and derived from Josephus. So there is some level of Torah learning. Musar learning. HaRambam, of course, the Rabbi Rashab would learn it on Tisha B'Av. So you can learn Madrash Eicha. You can learn Me'am Loez on Eicha. So great Me'am Loez on Eicha. There's a lot of stories there. The English, the Torah anthology series. So my marm. So we have a tradition from the Hill of Parich that we're allowed to learn Chassidus and Kabbalah during morning and during Tisha B'Av. So you are allowed to learn Chassidus and Kabbalah.
During morning,
in Tisha B'Av, during morning. Tisha B'Av is also morning.
Also Tanya?
So Tanya we learn after Chatzos. We learn out before Mincha. I don't know, that's what's done. That's we do Chitas before.
We cannot do the Pirkei Avos on Shabbos?
We discussed this on Sunday. We said the Rebbe says we don't do Pirkei Avos this coming Shabbos. However, if you want, you can do it before Chatzos. You can do whatever you want for Chatzos. Ideally, it's best to do on Erev Shabbos.
But
you can do till Shkia.
Shkia until on Shabbos until when's the end?
So it's reason why we can mitzvahs.
Until when we
you gotta get it in early.
So that goes all through Sunday then? That restriction goes from Chatzot and
That restriction, learning Torah goes until Tisha B'Av is over.
Wow.
The only thing that gets more lenient after Chatzos is the set Torah study, such as Homage, Tehillim, Tanya. But Rambam and everything else we don't.
I don't understand why they make a distinction between Tanya and other
Chassidics.
We don't. You're saying, listen, what's brought down is like this. There's a mimer of the Rabbi Rashab that was said by Tisha B'Av. Let's see. It's written, say, from Homage. A mourner may study the inner dimensions of Torah. Yeah, the Chassidim, this is from Sikha the Rebbe. The Rebbe said in the Sikha, the Chassidim tell over that after the passing of Rebbe Marash, the Rebbe Rashab and Rabbi Yaakov Mordechai Bespala would pace back and forth in their socks learning Chassidus. Okay. The Rebbe then begins questioning this story and concludes, one cannot ask on Chassidim, as even if the story isn't true, it certainly is true in potential. And then it's brought down and say from Hagim that this was the Rebbe Rashab's minhag on Tisha B'Av itself. That he learned, I don't know if referring to Chassidus or Kabbalah, maybe both.
There was a Rebbe. There was a Rebbe.
I didn't say except for Tanya. I just said.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
You said Tanya, you can't.
I didn't say can't. I said what's customary. It says that chitas we do before mincha. That's what it says. We do chitas before mincha. Part of chitas is Tanya.
And the Rambam also.
No, but the heter of learning Kabbalah Chassidus is not just things relating to mourning. It's any Kabbalah Chassidus. It's really brought in the Rishonim. The Meiri is one of the Rishonim. He writes in Ma'ikata. During mourning, you're allowed to learn most of Svarim that arouse you in Shuvah. He says the Chacham's intent was never to prohibit people from doing Shuvah. He was a Rishon. He writes that it's permitted to learn most of Svarim. It's permitted to learn Svarim.
Why do you think
So yeah, technically it's mutter. But anyways, okay, let's continue.
Oh, Rabbi. So since Shabbos,
You do it until
Shabbos, there are restrictions.
7
What I
or
remember.
13. No.
After Chatzos, yeah. After midnight.
It's Chatzot. You have to stop
The
learning.
question I had is, but
Not the
isn't
regular
that doing
stuff.
morning Shabbos?
Chitas, you can do it until midnight.
Yeah, but learning Torah is considered hidden mourning customs, private mourning customs, so they apply even on Shabbos, just like a mourner doing Shuvah.
You can do it also.
Okay,
So what
let's.
if you're in a meal?
No, you could do it on Shabbos also.
Yeah, with the right Torah or something.
So give something again. Say something Chassidus. Give something relating to Tisha B'Av. Something relating to there's all the other things.
It's stipulated that we can learn chitas until mincha time, not stopping at chatzot.
Chitas you can learn on Tisha B'Av. We learn chitas before mincha time.
On Shabbos, in this case,
Shabbos. Shabbos. We said I'm talking about Tisha B'Av. Regarding Shabbos, so ideally you should finish your everything you need to before chatzos.
Okay.
If you didn't, then you can still do Homage and Tehillim, but leave Rambam for the next day. You shouldn't do Rambam.
This is a nidche.
Doesn't matter. The halachas are nidche. Just the fast is nidche, not the halachas of Tisha B'Av. You're not allowed to greet a friend on Tisha B'Av. And I always love this halacha. This is one of my favorite halachas. Not because you're not allowed to greet friends on Tisha B'Av, but this is a proof that you have to greet people at every other day of the year. Right? This is a proof that otherwise, why would it tell us on Tisha B'Av you can't greet people? So,
in case you were a particularly happy type of person.
Anyway, so it's forbidden to greet people on Tisha B'Av, which means you can't tell them shalom, good morning, how are you, hello, hi. All of these natural greetings that we use. No, good morning is not okay. Good Shabbos on Sunday.
It's to give
He's talking about Tisha B'Av, talking about Sunday, Matzah Shabbos. Okay, this applies the entire Tisha B'Av. This applies the entire 24 hours. There's no heter after chatzos to not do so. And nonetheless, it is permitted to nod your head to someone. You're allowed to say mazel tov to someone. You're allowed to shake someone's hand. You can say good night to someone. You shouldn't say Shavua Tov. That's Matzah Shabbos. You shouldn't say good vach. That's considered a greeting. Okay, that's regarding greeting somebody. Regarding working on Tisha B'Av, we do not do any malach on Tisha B'Av. That includes dishes, housework, cleaning the floor. We don't do any malach on Tisha B'Av. It's for sure not business until chatzos. After chatzos is mutar. It's a custom of women to prepare the house for Mashiach and make it nice and clean after midday, just in case Mashiach arrives. They want to have their house ready for Mashiach to come. Is one allowed to joke around and laugh and do frivolous things on Tisha B'Av? So although some people do so, the Poskim vehemently oppose it and speak very strongly against it, particularly Chassidish Poskim, as this occurred in Chassidish communities, that they would throwing barrelach, throwing acorns, exactly. So the Poskim, this already occurred back in the times of the Rabbi, who already wrote this before the Chassidic movement even began. People already would start throwing these babkes in shul, and they severely spoke against it and warned them against doing so. And it's a desecration of the shul, etc. Although this was the custom of some Hasidic communities. This was done in some Hasidic communities, and we all know the story in Sefer Hagen brought from the Ruzhner, that they did a prank on him, and they lifted him up to the roof, and he said, "The Eibishter, your sons are not keeping this holiday of Tisha B'Av, take it away from them. Take it away from them." Okay, what time is it? It's around 9:30. Okay, guys, we almost finished, but we didn't finish. We still have a few things left.
Almost finished.
So, now we have the food. Now we have the food. Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick summary of other restrictions. We don't take... There's no leniency at all except for fasting for someone who's slightly ill. That's it. There's no other leniency that exists.
No other what?
He asked the question, are there any leniencies for Tisha B'Av Nidche? And the answer is that there's no leniency whatsoever for Nidche, with exception to the fact that the person who's slightly ill is allowed to break his fast. Yeah, that's already after Tisha B'Av, so we're going to get to that. Yeah. But that's after Tisha B'Av. I'm saying on Tisha B'Av itself, everything is business as usual. Okay, let's just finish through summary. We don't go on pleasure walks on Tisha B'Av. Tisha B'Av is not a day. We even said Shabbos you're not allowed to, right? We said no pleasure walks on Shabbos, certainly not on Tisha B'Av. You're supposed to diminish in comfort when you go to sleep. That means you usually sleep with two pillows, sleep with one. You usually sleep with one pillow, sleep with none. You usually don't sleep with a pillow.
Put a rock underneath.
Some people do that. That's not our custom, but some people do that. Correct. Okay, but you are to diminish in comfort. That's for sure. Sitting on the ground. One is to sit on the ground with a hefsek. Al pi Kabbalah, we do not sit directly on the ground because it's klipos. So we always put a hefsek on the ground, like a mat or a towel or something. And that applies till midday. Till midday, we do not sit on a bench, on a chair, anything with the like. A pregnant woman may do so. If you're on a bus, you may do so. If you're in a taxi, you don't have to stand. You may sit. If you're driving, you may sit. You don't have to drive while standing. I wouldn't suggest that. Okay, but you can also sit on a low stool. That's also fine. Things that continue this year. So this is the truth we already discussed in the Sunday share. We said as soon as Shabbos is over this year, not Shabbos, as soon as Tisha B'Av is over this year, Sunday night, everything's mutter. Everything except for eating meat, poultry, and wine. But everything else is mutter. Motzei Shabbos is Tisha B'Av.
No, I mean, mostly,
You can have meat. If Mashiach comes, you could.
No, mostly Tisha.
I understand. If Mashiach comes, you can have meat.
We
don't need- It says right here. It says right here.
Sunday morning.
It says right here. It says right here in the book. The morning customs that apply till sunrise of Monday, you're not allowed to eat meat and poultry, you're not allowed to drink wine. This is from the Ramah.
So, okay, Sunday night, so we can't,
Oh, boy.
we can't have wine. You do have that.
Same way you did have dollar.
You do a bill on wine, right?
Same way. Yeah. The same way we did have dollar.
We do have Dala on on Sunday night, yeah.
Sunday night.
Yeah.
Search
But
for a
you can't
kid.
have wine.
Yes, you can.
Search
No,
for
for
a kid.
Abdallah, you can drink wine. If you have a kid, you use a kid. If you don't have a kid,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So then it would be just wine.
Dip the
Coke,
cracker
that's all.
in the
Have
Yeah,
alcohol.
exactly. Just like you would do on a yantif.
Okay, rather I don't want to eat something.
It's like some old stuff.
Confusing. 'Cause it's not sure.
Yeah, I'm supposed to eat this salad, huh? Good idea.
Yeah, like that.
You don't do it. But like I said, Parmesan.
How on earth could someone write that it's mutter to eat meat and eat chicken and drink wine on Sunday night when the Ramah writes differently? Look at what the Ramah writes. In Chal Tisha B'Av b'Shabbos. Listen to the words. If Tisha B'Av falls on Shabbos, the Nitchaliyim Aleph and is pushed off to Sunday, Mutter lecho basar. It is permitted to eat meat, velishtis yain, and drink wine. And the person who wrote that probably just stopped there and didn't continue reading. B'yayim beis on Monday. Aval balayla, but tonight, asar. It's forbidden. Available
You need Monday morning or Monday.
What about
so-
Spartan?
Monday with. Does Spartan do anything?
Usually
different?
Monday you have to wait, you would wait till the midday, but we don't have to do that.
Exactly.
So the only, same thing for laundry. Laundry?
Everything is allowed.
Everything else is mutter.
Well, laundry is.
Music. Break up the band.
So, yeah.
Everything else is
I
mutter.
won't put that either for
Starting,
I don't have here recorded that Spartan are lenient in this. I don't know. Cannot vouch one way or another.
Well, now he brings up the pork.
Well,
Dip it in, dip it in.
I'm dropped. I don't know if you guys are. I don't know. All right, that was very well done. Baruch Hashem. Covered that
It was
ground.
like three and one.
Siyum,
There was
Temple.
Rambam.
Oh,
Yeah, there was
Four and one.
Rambam, Siyum, and.
A regular class.
And then this is like 4 and 1. And it's like we didn't have to pay extra. It's such a deal.
Show up.
How much is that book there? How much is the
60
book?
shekel.
How many?
60 shekel.
Rabbi Kaplan's hospitality tent is making our Ari yard site like the Rashbi, for the mini Rashbi now.
Oh, right.
What? This was that you got-
I didn't manage to go down there. I went to the Arizal. I didn't go to the. What was there?
Good question, but it draws a lot of people, and the Rebbe is very present in the movies and the videos, and it's a nice thing for the other
Since for out of towners, people come out of town, they need a place to eat, they need a place to stay.
I went to a lot of people.
Advertising for Aquanova now. Here we go.
Oh,
Aquanova.
Thank you.
An easy fast.
Now we just need cups. Oh, we have cups there.
Yeah.
In Chaim Vital, in one of his Akdamas, he writes of the importance of learning Torah and Kabbalah. And how the entire prohibition of learning Kabbalah was only in previous generations. And now it was only in previous generations. And now it no longer applies. And he says something crazy, that those people who, throughout the generations, will become apikarsan, it's going to be from those who don't learn Torah and Kabbalah.
What?
It's from people who don't learn Torah and Kabbalah.
But the application will be born to people who don't.
No, the people will become apicores because they don't learn.
Oh.
No, but they will have descendants
Oh.
who are
Yeah,
apikarsan,
that's right.
due to not learning Torah and Kabbalah. Or they themselves will become. And that's another option.
So I had descendants probably, or ancestors who must have learned.
My parents didn't learn Hasidus.
That's also the Ramak. The Ramak says someone who doesn't learn Kabbalah is an apikurs. He writes in Hardis Remain. And there's a big question. How can you call people who don't learn Kabbalah apikurs?
Some people,
That you bring
the
that
whole
same
generation over there was against it.
I saw your brother-in-law for the first time in many months. The last time was at the Simcha, we went together with the bar mitzvah, right? I'm down there. What? Tonight? No thanks. I have a car.
You're walking, right?
I haven't decided yet. Yeah.
I'm about to go.
So we were standing next to one of the book sale tables, and he had a safer in his hand.
I don't know what this Farbani
And
is.
I said, "What do they wanted?"
You sing Nigoni?
And it was that one.
Where's the Farbani for the women tonight?
What about Nigoni?
No idea. Gonna, can you sing in the Gonna? Why not? When? Yeah, sure.
Anyway, I bought him that safer just because he was standing there.
You like
It was
the
a little
safer,
special,
right?
really warm reunion. And
Thick book? Thick?
yeah, pretty thick.
How much was it?
Hard to wonder how much it was on. How much?
Yeah.
It was 100.
Oh, there's no price. No, I have one at home.
It is the Ramak's like most sort of seminal.
That is the Ramak's book. He also wrote other books.
Yeah, but it was the most
More than
seminal
10 books.
Yeah.
You stood up to Mafseket on Shabbos. You don't need an egg, right?
No, Mom.
very, very.
If you want, you can have leftover exiles from Shabbos. You don't need eggs and ashes, that's forbid. It's in the morning.
How's about that?
Some people are accustomed to never eat eggs for Shabbos, so it's forbidden to them. It's a morning food.
Very difficult to understand sometimes when it gets explained the difference between the Ramak's Kabbalah
In the
and
Surah
the Arizal.
Mafseket said it's supposed to be separate, you can't.
It's-
be-
First of all, why do you have to explain the difference? Why do you have to explain the difference?
No, because it's written where it talks about.
Susan Masek, you have to watch. You watch for Susan Masek, is that Masek?
Of course, why not? It's a Suda. Suda like Shlomo
Yeah,
HaMelech. Yeah.
There are a lot of people, right?
Shabbos, of course, you can drink wine.
I mean, up after,
Can't handle it.
The only thing I think I told you,
I did it off last night.
you can learn Hasidus on Tisha B'Av. Why can't you learn on Shabbos? Everyone else do.
Of course you could. You can spend the rest of Shabbos in the Chassidus.
the problem going like
Yeah, they already had,
Yeah.
they already had that.
Amen.
I'm gonna go.
There we go. Right, going off the air. All right?
Yeah.